What is good, YouTube? It's your boy OG Nonboy back with another video, and in today's video I got a pretty spicy team that a subscriber of mine submitted to me, and this team consists of Victini with Frostlass and Sableye in the back. So Victini, not a typical pick in the Open Great League, and it is a pretty solid pick in some of the limited formats, but I definitely don't see it in the Open Great League, so really excited to see how he's able to make do with this team here. So first match we have a Victini into Altaria, and this isn't the greatest matchup for Victini just because Victini is quite squishy. So as you can see here, Dragon Breath's doing a whole lot of damage to the Victini, and staying in here a little bit, and it kind of makes sense just because your Sableye doesn't have the best matchup against the Altaria here, especially if they are able to land a Moonblast. So he decides to catch a Sky Attack onto his Sableye, so opponent able to get a Surf off here, and they're going to outpace you to the second Surf. Like, you're not going to get to 2 foul plays before they get to 2 Surfs, so opting to throw the return here, which the opponent shields. So now he's actually in a pretty unfavorable position, so I'm curious to see how he's able to finagle himself out of this if he does. So most likely going to bring the Frostlass back in here, I'd assume, but he actually brings in the Victini, so this is a pretty interesting play. Going ahead and loading up on energy. So also decides not to sack the Victini, so he's shielding the Surf here, and then he makes a nice catch onto his Frostlass. So it seems like he's going to sacrifice the Frostlass here and try to put the whole game on the back of the showcase Pokemon here in the Victini. So opponent getting off another move. If this is a Surf, they should be able to survive from this range, and going for the Avalanche here, this is a bit of a misplay just because you're only going to get to 1 move anyway, so there's no point in baiting with the Avalanche. But opponent swapping into the Ferrothorn, so gonna over farm a little bit here, and this Victini is gonna absolutely send this Ferrothorn to the Shadow Realm. And now we got Victini against the world here. Still have to deal with the Altaria and also the Lantern in the back, so building up a tiny bit of extra energy, and hopefully they'll be able to outpace the Lantern here to another move, and able to do so. So pretty solid plays overall, like very creative play too. Like, definitely wouldn't have played it the same way myself, but it ended up working out for him. Next match we have the Victini into Medicham, and this is a pretty solid lead just because you do resist the fast and charge moves that the Medicham has. So staying in here a bit, but as you can see here, even the resisted counters are doing a lot to the Victini. So I'm anticipating a swap out at some point just because you do have 2 harder checks to the Medicham in the back. We're going to go ahead and throw this first V-Create off. And also the second one, the first one grabbing a shield, which is pretty nice. So opponent letting that one go, bringing in the Sableye, and opponent staying in here a little bit, which is pretty interesting. Throwing a move, because as you're going to see here, well, I guess you're not, but a little bit of a questionable shield there just because the Psychic is resisted, so it wasn't going to do a whole lot of damage, and even if it was an Ice Punch, it also doesn't do all that much damage. But they bring in the Lantern, so going to go ahead and spam off these foul plays. Should be able to throw this next one off as the Thunderbolt is not going to KO, but actually going to go build up to the return, which I like. So if the opponent lets this go, you're going to be able to regain switch advantage here. So they bring in the Registeel, and at this point you're in a very solid position. So bringing the Victini back in here, argument could be made that you should have brought the Frostlass in there to kind of soak up some energy, since you do have to shield that Focus Blast there. But overall, like, it doesn't really matter because you're in a pretty dominant position. Should be able to get to 2 V-Creates here, and then the Frostlass should be able to sweep up the end game there. So V-Create doing a whole lot of damage to the Registeel, and at this point the game is over. Should be able to tank any move the Registeel throws from this range, and yeah, comfortably able to tank that, and then can be able to reach this Avalanche here to take out the Registeel. So Victini really putting in the work in both of these matches here so far. Next match we have the Victini into Sableye. So this is actually a really tough lead because you can't really swap into your own Sableye just because, like, you're gonna get outpaced, right? And that's kind of your best answer to the Sableye as well, and it's typically bad form to swap in your hard answer to an opposing Pokemon. So when your hard answer is the same Pokemon, you're going to be a turn behind, and that's just a really sticky spot to be in. So staying in there and chipping them a little bit is pretty decent decision. And now they're going to bring in the Skarmory, and this Skarmory actually has the wrong fast move. I think this is the Steel Wing. So opponent probably not TMing their fast move away after playing the Flying Cup or something all way back when, but should be able to get to this next foul play. Likely going to threaten a shield, and that it does. So now still in a pretty sticky situation just because you can't really bring the Frostlass in just because of the opponent's fast move, which is kind of unlucky. Like, normally it'd be kind of nice to just bring in your Frostlass and farm down the Skarmory, or at least build up a lot of energy before throwing a move. But in this case, gonna catch a move on the Frostlass. The Sableye is gonna make it to a move, and you really can't afford to shield this. But at the same time, like, your Victini is gonna get farmed down here. So, really tough lead. So, kind of a core breaker to this team. But Sableye, I haven't seen too much Sableye lead. I've definitely seen it like once or twice though, but just a rough match overall for this team. Not much he could have done in this scenario here. So next match, we have Victini into Granbull, so definitely a positive lead. And the only thing here is, like, as you can see, the charms are still doing quite a bit to the Victini, and attempting to swap into the Sableye, but opponent able to get the move off. So this makes sense as a shield, but you should be able to outpace them to 2 V-Creates before they can get another crunch off. So looks like going to throw both of these before dipping. And I like this, so this either puts them pretty low or, well, I guess it does put them pretty low because the opponent lets it through. So at this point though, I don't think you will be able to farm down the Drapion before having to tank a move, which is a bit unfortunate since, like, they are pretty low at this point, but should be okay depending on what is in the back. So most likely going to bring the Victini in here to get a little tiny bit of extra energy, and they bring the Granbull back in, which is kind of the alignment that you want. So should be able to get both these V-Creates off, and this should take out the opponent or threaten the last shield. And that actually kind of works out just because, I mean, you had the back-to-back, so still going to be able to take out the Granbull, and then you have the Frostlass for this Heracross in the back. And since you do have a shield, and the Rock Blast won't KO anyways, one-hit KO, Shadow Ball should be able to do just about enough to take out the opponent. Next match here, we have the Stunfisk lead, and this is also kind of a tricky lead, just because you are, in a sense, ABA weak to the Stunfisk, being your Victini in the front and your Frostlass in the back are pretty weak to this Pokemon here. So you're going to be able to get off a V-Create, and then throwing this next one as well. Likely going to pivot into the Sableye at some point. So opponent shielding that, pivoting into the Sableye, and opponent staying in here, so allowing him to build up some extra energy. And this is a little bit of an unlucky catch just because he did throw one over, so kind of a blind catch by the opponent, but it actually isn't too bad of a scenario since he's only going to be able to get to a foul play and a return anyways before the opponent can get a move off on him and take him out. So probably want to hold on to the last shield since you do have to deal with the Stunfisk still. So opponent throwing the play rough. Now you're probably going to get a pretty nasty farm down with the Victini. So yeah, gonna get the farm down. And then also the Stunfisk is going to come here and throw a move. So most likely, since they do have a Stunfisk lead, they're running some sort of grass type in the back, but making a bit of a crucial error here and over farming. So going to be able to take out the Victini, and then we have the Frostlass on the Stunfisk, so he concedes the match there, but probably had some really good winning chances if he had just thrown that V-Create, since typically there are grass types in the back, and the fact that he brought the Stunfisk into the Victini kind of signifies that there was some sort of grass type in the back. But overall, very solid battles by my subscriber here, and thank you so much for the submission. But yeah, that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and also submit your battles in the link in the description below if you want to be featured like this, and I'll see you in the next one.